person, but I was informed this afternoon of a close contact of COVID-19. So following our protocols, I've removed myself from the meeting tonight, and we'll do it remotely with your acceptance there. With that, first order of business, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next is our roll call. Quick roll. David Olson.
Here.
Jeff Redmond.
Here.
Scott DeGrosse.
Here.
Howard Kruschke's here. Deanne Cole.
Here.
Brian Kopel.
Here.
Kirk Lixet.
Here.
Okay. All board members are present. Okay. Was the meeting properly notified?
Yes, it was, and this meeting is being recorded.
Okay. Okay. At this point, do we have anybody with any public comment?
No, nothing.
I don't know if we have anybody present, but is there anybody for public comment?
No. No.
Okay. With that, then we will move on to our highlight on youth, starting with our backpack program presentation.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Andrea Felberg. I'm the I am the special ed secretary, school services secretary. I've been here for, it'll be 2 years in January, but just doing the backpack program for about a year now. And Amy's been here much longer.
Middle school secretary. I think I'm on my 10th year, and I started the backpack program when we first started. I don't even know how many years it's been.
2012, 2013.
Okay, perfect. There you go. Good job.
Right. I'm probably just going to read from this because I'm really nervous. So traditionally, what is the backpack program? It is a free program that provides kid-friendly, non-perishable food for our students, early childhood through grade 12, and their families. The program targets families who are in need of food on weekends and overextended school breaks when other resources such as free and reduced price meals are not available. We try to send home lightweight, non-glass, non-perishable items. If the kiddo can't fit it in their backpack, they can easily carry it, I think is the goal. Some typical things we send, oatmeal, cereal, granola bars, soup, mac and cheese, various meal kits, fruit snacks, popcorn, things like that. But since COVID, things have changed for us. So I remember us meeting that Saturday when we were notified of the school closure, thinking we were doing great. We had just gone shopping. We had 3 weeks of food stocked up. So we were tagging along with the meal deliveries from the school, but realized quickly that wasn't going to last us. So I reached out to Chris Knott, who runs the Hudson backpack program, and she has been really great. She's connected us to other programs like Sheridan Story. I think they gave us 300 some bags of non-perishable items. The Roberts Food Pantry has donated some items, and we were linked up with the Sunny Summer Produce Program, and they gave us fresh fruits and veggies every week all summer. So good stuff. So Chris invited us to tag along with the Hudson Backpack Program. They did something they're calling a pop-up pantry, which we probably should have followed the naming, but we just continued to call it our backpack program. We emailed all the families that were receiving the food service through the school, we figured that was a good group of families that were looking to get extra food during the closure. So we started there, and we just had a survey, like a Google survey that they filled out, and went from there. So we got permission from Mr. Newsbaum here to use the middle school cooler and freezer space. And because school was no longer in session, we did pickup. We tried one time to do delivery and found out that was a horrible idea. So we went back to the pickup. 2 vehicles. We drive to Hudson every second and fourth Wednesday of the month. They're pretty loaded full. I have pictures later in the slideshow. We bring them back. We unload them at the middle school, get everything that needs to be in the coolers and everything ready to go. And at that time we did Thursday pickup just to give ourselves a cushion in between. We started the pickup June 11th and ran it every other week all summer. We had pretty decent participation, 25 families, and there were 59 kids 18 and under participated. This is just an idea of what gets sent home. So what have we been up to now? Chris offered to carry our program through December, continuing the same model of this pickup program. And we have been getting all of our food from her at no charge. She gets it from Second Harvest. It's really wonderful. We attempted to get the word out to as many families as we could, doing the open house application, and then following up via email with our families that participated over the summer and last school year. Our pickup is now the second and fourth Wednesday of the month because when we pick the food up from Hudson, we have nowhere to store the cold stuff. So we made contact with Russ Davis Wholesale down the street here, and they actually hold our cooler freezer items for a few hours every Wednesday until our pickup. Our pickup will be changing to the first and third Wednesday of the month here in November and December because of the holidays. I have yet to communicate that with our families. I'm thinking next week at pickup. We're currently serving 24 families, including 54 students. 4 of our families have requested to participate in our traditional take-home program where Amy packs the bags every week and gets them sent home with the kiddos. What does an average backpack day look like? So we usually leave here about 9:20 and we go over to the bus garage and we get 2 of the minivans, the school's minivans. And it's been Kim Gunderson coming with me during the school year, but Greg Green was always the one to come with me during the summer. And we'd fill these 2 vehicles full. We go over to St. Pat's Church there in Hudson, right by the high school. This school year now, we tried to get 1 van full of all the perishables. So just 1 vehicle is going to Russ Davis. The other van is full of all the non-perishables going to the middle school. So it's a lot of movement. We drop it off at Russ Davis. We got to go back and pick it up at 2:30 to get it to the middle school for the pickup. So we're hauling stuff all over the place. So the van, holding the non-perishables is emptied right away and brought back to the bus garage. Brian usually needs the 1 van for other purposes in the afternoon. I already mentioned we pick up at Russ Davis. So after we drop everything off again at the middle school, we are filling, I think we've upwards of 4 carts now that we've got ready to go. We usually get hit pretty hard right at 3:30 with families coming up. We have them pull up along the southwest end of the school there. They just pull up, tell us their names, and we load the food in their vehicles for them. this last week, I think we were done at 5:30.
Yeah.
Every family came. We've had good luck the last 2 weeks. Not a single person is not coming, which is wonderful. So some of our pictures of our minivans packed full. I didn't get a good picture of him, but this gentleman here is Derek Nelson over at Russ Davis, and he's been really wonderful, helps me unload the van when I get there and gets it on these pallets so he can, I don't know, lift with that weird cart thing. Not quite. Yeah, something like that. So this week or last week, this is everything our families received.
And that's 2 weeks worth.
Yeah, so we do this twice a month.
And it's one family.
One
One
family
family
gets
gets
all of this. It's a lot of food. So, yes, roughly $200 worth of food purchased through Second Harvest for $12.50. So it's really remarkable what they get. Kim Gunderson's idea. We took it all out of the bags and displayed it beautifully for a photo. And we had to do a photo in the cart. We got this grocery cart too from the Hudson Backpack Program. We think it's slick.
It's awesome.
It's really nice. Tim had gotten these photos. This was before we loaded it up into the vehicles, and this isn't even all of it. So it's just really cool to see it lined up like this. This is all of it over in the back of the middle school. We try to, put it in groups so that when families come, we know we're grabbing from each stack. Oh, my big thank you. I mentioned Greg Green drove with me every 2 weeks all summer long in his pickup truck to haul the stuff back with me. Pete and the middle school kitchen staff for letting me use the fridge and freezer over the summer. Gary Peterson and the custodial maintenance crew. Gary was checking in with me every time we dropped off just to make sure I could get to the coolers, because when they're during the summer, they're trying to do the floors there. So he's always trying to maneuver, get me away back there. He brought me a couple of refrigerators. Well, he gave me a milk fridge that was in storage, and he's brought over refrigerators from the break room.
Yep.
So I could use them down there. Derek Nelson and Russ Davis Wholesale. Kim Gunderson, who's been driving the second van so far this school year and helping me stage the food. And she stayed one night and helped us load carts in the beginning. And of course, she just sits down the hall for me. So I'm constantly asking her questions all the time anyways. Brian, always making sure we got vans to drive. Tim came with us last week, thankfully, because we had way more than we could have fit in 2 vans. And then Sammy Gibson, Jackie Palmer, Katie Tate, Gary Peterson, and Jonah Lee Buckle are all volunteers for October to help load vehicles. So that's awesome. And River Valley Charities, too, is one of the biggest donors for this program. This year they gave us $3,500 for the backpack program, and they support a lot of the backpack programs in the area. And they've been in constant contact with me about things that they can do to help us. So it's been great. I don't really know what to tell them right now, but our hopes and dreams for this, we don't know. It's really great. These families are really thankful for what they're getting from us. Our biggest hang up is at the backpack program is not considered a 501c3. And although the school gets all the benefits of a 501c3, we are not a 501c3. So I cannot purchase food through Second Harvest by myself without that status. And I don't know what it would look like to sustain the program on this scale either. It feels very overwhelming
It's a
sometimes.
lot, yeah.
So, and if we continued to go forward with getting our own refrigerator and freezer back in that section be worth it. So we're not hauling stuff over to Russ Davis. And then I've thought numerous times about partnering with the Roberts Ham and Food Pantry. I don't know how they're set up or what it looks like, but it would make sense to team up with them. So yeah.
When we had the volunteers come in last week, it was our first week for volunteers. Her and I, crazy that we didn't think of this. We've been doing this the whole time by ourselves, and it's a lot. And every person that was in there last week it's eye opening. Like it is. And Tim, I'm sure you know just from going, you were on the flip side, but every single week, every single family thanks us and said how much this is needed, how much they appreciate it, that they couldn't do it without this. So it's to see the teachers see this end of it, and they were like, we need to get everybody in here to try this because they need to see this, what our kids are getting. So it's really appreciated.
So $400 worth of groceries per month, right?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, it's about that.
That's it.
And that number came right from Chris.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board?
Amazing program. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you.
listening.
Yeah.
I guess, Andrea, before you go, this is Howard Kirschke talking.
It's
How is your funding?
Or
How is your funding holding up? Because I've been contacted by several of the area organizations asking if you were in need of funds.
families just doing the small bags.
Yep.
And I think there were 9 students there.
Yep.
And David Linsmeyer had reached out to me today, thought he had a few more families interested. I think it starts to spread even then by word of mouth, and we're getting a little better. You know, the first few weeks we had a lot of bags rip on us.
We had gallons of milk going down the road.
I was amazed by not just the quantity, but the quality and then the variety.
Yep.
So
Okay.
for just number one, being open to new ideas and then especially obviously for generosity of your time and I mean it's back-breaking work of lifting all that stuff and then it's neat that you obviously get to see the fruition, right? See the impact as they pick it up. But
Sleep really good on
Yeah, we do. Wednesdays we sleep really well.
I have two questions for you. If you were looking for volunteers, when?
It would be on our pickup days. So the next one is next Wednesday. We already have 3 or 4, I can't remember, I have them written down, 3 or 4 teachers coming in after, they all kind of did different times, which helps.
And that starts roughly at 3 o'clock.
We're back there at 3. People are really lining up at 3:15 once they get their kids at school, and we have a line usually down the road.
We probably see half our families in that first 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then from about 4:15 to 5:30 is, we see them, but it's slow and sporadic, so it kind of gives us a breather to do what we need to do, get our carts restocked and repacked. But
And if I'm not mistaken, this is all donation. There's no budget impact to the school district.
Right. And right now, it doesn't cost us anything because Hudson has kind of carried us all this way, so they deserve.
But if it's going to grow, donations would be appreciated, I'm sure.
Well, the biggest thing, it's if we could get this food ourselves, because even if we just did the small bags, you're still looking, you save half just by buying through Second Harvest. We were going to Walmart. So,
well,
And
right now you just can't get. They have limits on everything, so you just can't get what we used to be able to get. So
and I've talked with Jen several times about what it looks like to do this 501c3, and it sounds scary, but it seems worth trying. My thought is if it doesn't go well,
You can get my contact information for Pete or Tim, and I'll talk you through it. It's probably not worth the time and hassle of it, but that doesn't mean we can't get you the benefits of 501c3. He described it as a 501c3 license.
Well, I don't
You
know
can-
about
You can have a fiscal agent that's a 501c3 that you can use there. So get my contact information from Pete or Tim, and I'll just sit down with them, we can talk through it, and if you want to do a 501c3, I've done many of them, so I would help you put it together, but there's administration stuff. I mean, you're dedicated to doing this stuff for kids, and there's a bunch of crap that you have to do that's administrative, that most people that are mission-driven don't want to do all that other stuff. So unless you have somebody that's interested in doing the tax return and keeping track of all the ins and outs, it's really a hassle.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
we talk through it and you can decide, and I'll help you do the 501c3. If that's what you want to do, as I said, I'll be happy.
Okay, Tim, can they hear me?
The reason you need the 501c3 designation is in order to purchase from Second Harvest, is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah,
That's the purpose.
And when you go to the store, you have tax exempt.
Well, we already have the Walmart, that's why we go to Walmart, because we have the tax exempt through Walmart anyways.
But Second Harvest won't sell them. They won't sell them.
I've reached out to them and they won't.
And but does the Hudson actually buy it, or does the River Valley Charities buy it?
Hudson Backpack Program is a 501c3.
And I know River Valley, I had lunch last week with one of the board members of River Valley Charities, and I know they give money, and they know that they're giving money that's coming from, the seniors.
Yep. I forget that I talked to a few gentlemen with River Valley Charities, and he has told me that if that's our problem, that he can assist us, but I don't know if it's long-term, like can they buy the food for us kind of thing.
Well, we have a contract with them, provided that they will do it as long as they don't.
I thought too, I mean, I don't know how the
Like most
Roberts.
churches, there's one 501c3 designation, it's a different number than 3, but then each church around the country is an affiliate with. So we could probably, if Hudson was willing, they could have an affiliate with another school, and it just saves all of the administrative hassle. So we can talk to it.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah, that sounds interesting.
Okay. Tim, can they hear me?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll need somebody next Wednesday. Amy, you have my contact?
I do every contact, yeah.
I don't know, Wednesday.
Okay. Well, you
So
get
Tim,
anytime.
Tim, can they hear me?
Be there.
Did you want for pickup as well in the morning or just in the evening?
So lucky for us, for whatever the
There's no
reason.
room in the van.
Enough
bags in there.
You better send 3.
Yeah, we're gonna get that. I mean, you used Tim's truck and you said
Sure,
it was
it's
full,
good,
so.
Yeah, all right.
So I can take my pickup.
Tim, can they hear me?
She switched us now. She's letting us pick up at 1, which is really great, and it's cold enough outside where we don't have to bring it over to Russ Davis. So that would be wonderful.
I can get you Brian's contact info if you want.
All right, we will be in touch. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Tim, can they hear me?
Everybody at home would be able to see it unless I play it and share my screen. So maybe you could share it with me, we'll try that.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Tim, can they hear me?
I'll be still there.
Tim, I just sent it.
Okay.
Okay, Tim, can they hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was going to ask how their funds were doing, and I know I've had several organizations, including the Lions, have asked if they needed money. That would be a possible organization to be interested in donating to the backpack program also. So,
one thing, if they were a 501(c), like through work, we're able to donate to any charity. They just have to be a 501(c) designation. So like I could donate through that for work with company and everything like that if they had it. But if we have a contractor in Hudson, I could do that and designate.
Okay.
Decide if they want to do that. I make the CEO's lunch for it, so whatever that number is.
All right.
Okay. Okay, Tim, can
Yep,
you hear me again?
yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Andrea or Amanda?
They're gone.
They've already left, Howard.
Okay. We'll move on to the next item as our from our middle school teacher, Kirsten Bosenailer's regards to the vocabulary acquisition projects.
Yeah, Kirsten can't be here tonight, but what this is regarding is this year is our first year of implementation with this resource. So we've, of course, had standards set for many years around vocabulary acquisition, 5th through 8th grade. We've had other curriculum materials with some consistency, 5th through 8th grade, some more robust, some more provided activities, etc. So this is our first year of implementation, and 5th through 8th grade is doing amazing things. All the teachers. It's occurring not only in our writing classes, but it's occurring in our reading classes, our special education teachers as well. There's been some very intentional work together as a group, 5th through 8th grade, in designing this for students to really pick up more vocabulary words that are not traditionally used. And so it's pretty neat to see the collaboration and the implementation of this, and we're meeting quite often to ensure that it is being used well, we're sharing ideas, and that it's meeting the needs of why we determined this resource would be good to add to our curriculum materials. So it's called Savvy or Achieve, and it's an online or a handbook. And Kirsten is one of our 6th grade teachers, and her and Jean came up with an idea to have 2-week units, and then a 3rd week being application of the vocab words into projects. And that's potentially spreading into 8th grade as well, as they really like that idea. But we just had great talking, and every grade is doing something a little bit different in how they use it. But it's been great already 2 months in terms of the results. Both are seeing, in the live numbers and the achievement on the exams or the assessments, but more so in what they're hearing the kids talk about, how they're using it, and how the kids are finding it in other areas and bringing it up to their teachers. So the kids are really enjoying, again, having this structured resource. So Kirsten's going to share about that. She can't be present tonight, so she shared a video. If you don't know Kirsten, again, a very passionate, jovial, positive individual that just loves her topic of helping kids learn how to read. And of course, vocabulary acquisition is a huge part of reading and writing. So she has created a video. I said 5 to 10 minutes. She made it 11 minutes. So I have to point that out, that she's just so passionate about it. She shares in depth. And then she did recommend there's a 5-minute video from a student project that she thought we'd enjoy. If we just watch 1 minute, you'd get the gist for how the kids are really buying into it and enjoying the new resource. So Tim, if you want to share that.
Hi folks, Kirsten Bosenailer is coming to you here from my kitchen. Would love nothing more than to be joining you in person, but unfortunately that's not going to work out for me tonight. When Nick asked me to share a little spotlight on student projects and vocabulary, I was super excited to do so. Vocabulary instruction is such a critical part of reading, and I feel really lucky to be using the new vocab curriculum that we've got this year. And one of the ways that I have tried to help students really get in touch with using their words is through Vocab Projects. Before I go ahead and highlight one of the projects for you to watch, I just wanted to sort of give you a little bit of a rundown of how vocab instruction goes in 6th grade. And I feel, again, really lucky because both Jean Johnson and I are using the Sadlier curriculum. And so I'm not sure how familiar with it you are. So I'm going to go ahead and present my screen and just show you a couple of things that I find really awesome. And then I'll show you some of the great projects, and actually just one of the great projects that I have, because there are so many that you wouldn't have time to see them all. So first of all, on the Sadlier website, one of the things that I feel like is so great is that Jean and I are able to split up all of the wonderful resources they have. And I won't read all of these things to you, but as you can see, there's everything that's in blue here is a link that students have access to should we choose to assign it. And so Jean and I have kind of split up this list of different awesome resources, and she works with some of them in her classroom, and then I'm able to work with some of the others in mine. One of my favorite things is this idea of building an assessment, and today students in my classroom are taking a quick quiz on the Unit 2 words. I have not yet built that assessment yet because I'm actually recording this Sunday, but I will have the option of selecting the questions and everything, which is really wonderful. The way that vocab instruction works in my room then is every Monday, students are given a set of words. And actually it's every Monday, 2 weeks in a row. And then the third week is a review week. And so this is my vocab calendar that I'll need to amend now that we have decided to go to 4-day weeks. But prior to that, so like on October 5th, I taught the Unit 2A words. All students have a reading notebook that's a 3-subject notebook, and their second section is on vocab. So we actually still physically write our words in our notebooks, even though on the Sadlier site they do have access to both words and definitions. Every Friday then, up until now, probably every Thursday, depending, we will do a quick assessment. That's just a formative check for me to see who needs some further instruction on that list of words from that week. And then the same goes for the second week of the unit. So words are assigned on Monday, and then the assessment is on the last day of the week. And the reason why we decided to break our units up into the 2 lists and give that third week, as you can see, is for review, is just because we thought that that was a best fit for 6th graders. Learning 20 new words in a week just felt like way too many, especially if we wanted them to really own these words and use them and make them part of their own vocabulary, like truly part of their own vocabulary and use them. We felt like they needed a bit more time than just giving them all sorts of words right away, and then not having enough time to practice them and really truly make them their own. So this is sort of my vocab calendar that is on my website. Students can see it. It's on my Google Classroom for them. It tells which day the words will be assigned. It tells which day the assessments are, and then it tells when our vocab projects are due. So when it comes to vocab projects, I have accumulated a list, and really I feel like I had my most successful year of vocab instruction 2 years ago, and then with the new curriculum, units of study, which I also adore. Last year, my vocab instruction, I didn't feel like I had the time that I gave to it that I had in years past, just because of getting to know that new curriculum and being unsure of the fidelity and pacing and so on, unit planning. So this year with Sadlier conjoined with units of study, it seems like an amazing fit. So 2 years ago, and then again now this fall, I started amending and revising and adding projects to my list. And so what students have the option to do is after they've learned their second set of 10 words for the unit, I present them with their vocab project choices. And right now they have 4 lists that they're going to choose from. And each of the 4 lists has sort of an overall theme to it so that the projects are similarly related. Not the same, but similar. And my focus for them is that in the first 4 units, they have to pick a project, 1 project per unit, but it has to come from one of the 4 lists, a different list each time. So for example, list 1 choices are more written work, like short stories, poems, writing a script and acting it out, creating riddles, puns, tongue twisters, or even creating a test on like a Google form. more written projects. List 2 are for students who are initially drawn to maybe more artistic or technological things. And so an animated film, creating a film that you record yourself in outside of school, a music video, illustrating a picture that tells a story using the words, comic strips, a walking tour. I had a student just suggest to me doing a film critic bit for their vocab project, who I thought was going to be great. List 3 is more game-based, and so charades, headbands, there's lots of games on technology like Kahoots and quizzes, memes. The last one is like, for the tactile learners, like building a scene using Legos or any other material of your choice. I've had in years past students do like stapled paper, where they staple paper together and they fill it so it almost looks like a stuffed animal sort of situation. And then they display their scene and describe with their vocab words what we're looking at. And then list 4 is kind of like the grab bag of all those projects we've come up with that didn't really fit on any other list, or that we just wanted to have that extra list of things. This is where I'll add, with that film critic idea that one of the students had. So one of the things that I really love about vocab projects is that when you think about student empowerment, this gives them a ton of choice. They are allowed to pick any of these projects for their first round. And once they have picked their first one, then it does limit their choices, the next 3 choices, right? And eventually their 4th choice, they will have to pick from the last list. But the reason I like that as well is because it helps students step out of their comfort zone. And one of the standards that we don't have as an essential on our report card, but is certainly an important one and supplementary in 6th grade, is that speaking and listening component. And so based on this, all students will at least have practice with some component of speaking and listening. I'm very sorry. Because of the vocab project choices that they will be asked to complete this year. So that's our list. And you'll notice down here, I said, have a creative idea that you don't see, let me know. And I've had wonderful success with this. Interestingly enough, this year, of course, there's always things to be learned from the first round of projects. And I did not give a grade for the first round, only because it was a learning experience. And so we came up with this list of tips to help make your vocab project more successful. We had a video of this first round that was 14 minutes long, which when you think about a 40-minute class period and trying to present vocab projects for everybody to see, that was a bit lengthy. And so that, the first point, be mindful of your time. Try to shoot for no more than 4 minutes. And it's amazing how much these kids have to say when they get behind a camera. The second point there, be mindful of content and be mindful of audience. We had a conversation via video, since I'm home in isolation right now, but I was able to have a conversation over Google Meet with my class about how, yes, there are things that your classmates are going to find funny, but they're probably not something that is going to be school appropriate. So we need to make sure that we are mindful of that content. One of the projects had the students attacking another, but one of our words was the siege. And so it was to attack. We talked about, how do we get across the point without being inappropriate in our content? So that was a really good learning lesson. The 4th one, being willing to step outside your comfort zone. So many 6th graders are fearful of speaking in front of their classmates. And I even asked the 2 girls whose video I'd like to highlight tonight to come in and actually present live at the board. And one of them was all about it, and the other one was like, no, not gonna happen for me. So, because she's very fearful of presenting live. So that one is a pretty important one. Of course, being mindful of your partner, choosing someone that you're going to work well with. And then the last one is the most important. Use the words correctly is really what that's getting down to. So with that, I wish that I were there so I could answer any questions that you might have. And I hope that that gives you a little bit of a glimpse into my vocabulary instruction in class. The neat thing about my projects is that this document that you're seeing on the screen right now is a list of everybody's project. And so what I do with this is I post this on my Google Classroom for each of my 5 sections of reading. And so even if you're in 2nd hour, you get to see the projects from everybody all throughout the school day. One of the reasons I do this is because I do feel like having a legit audience makes any project better. When students know that their goal is to learn and use the words accurately, but also to entertain their classmates, there's so much more buy-in there in terms of getting a quality project. And so the project that I'm going to have you watch, and if you have time, I have 2 of them highlighted here, but This one that's Megan and Olivia's newscast. And remember, it's 6th graders. It's their first attempt of the year. But they do a hilariously vivacious job of getting their words across in this sentence or in their project, and use them almost all correctly and in a way that really entertained their classmates and demonstrated that they had a pretty good mastery of the words outside of just taking a test on it. I will let you guys watch that now. I've shared that link with Nick, and I hope that you enjoy. And you know, if you ever have a chance to pop in, I'm more than happy to welcome you into my classroom. And with that, I think that is all I have for you this evening. Thank you so much for taking the time and being interested in what we're doing in 6th grade reading. Talk to you later. Bye.
Tim, if you'd like to play that first gold link, so you have to go out of this, it's the other link. It's Megan and Olivia's new newscast, and you can play about a minute of it. Yes, yep. And then you'll scroll down and go to the first yellow highlighted. Just again, a minute or so is fine because it's pretty repetitive to go through. So right there is fine. And this is actually Andrea's daughter, Megan, who's just as nervous in front of people as Andrea. So.
This is the news with Megan Felberg and Olivia Bagel with today's message at 6. We have news that Paul Griffin ran away because his hair was receding terribly. Let's report.
Thank you, Olivia. I'm Megan Felberg, reporting at the scene. One of the kids came running down to the station asking to dispatch the police. Please be on the lookout for their father. Keep tuning in for more. Back to you, Olivia.
Thanks, Megan. In Kentucky this week, a 12-year-old girl told her parents she was going to live in the woods if her brother would not stop irking her, and she states that he is an oaf. Back to Megan with some more crazy things happening right now.
Yes, the story is indeed true. There's a burglar on the loose. So
Yeah.
police decide-
Can you pick out the words that are not too normal, dispatched and etc.?
Page 36.
You want to pause it? Yeah, it's things like that. And when Kirsten shared that with me, this is the first project a couple weeks ago. First, I have a 5th grade daughter, and so I went home and she watched everyone, and of course loved it, and can't wait to do that as well. But I mean, look at, and Kirsten's just one teacher. Lindy and Stacy for 5th grade, Mandy and Catherine could speak for 7th grade, and John Lee and Laura and Taylor for 8th grade about the wonderful things they're doing specifically around vocab. But as you saw with Kirsten, how it branches off into all these other lessons and things. I mean, it's just, I thought it was very appropriate to give you a peek into this, because sometimes you do or don't know what we commit money and time and training to, the amount of growth that our teachers are going through every year and trying to make things just even better, even though they're doing great stuff. And our ELA department specifically, not just the middle school, but K-8, with taking on, it's called Units of Study for Reading and Writing for the last 2 years and continued. It has really, again, taken on a challenge of trying to just boost the reading and writing achievement at St. Clair Central, which is already strong, but we're trying to make it even stronger. So that's just one example, but you can see the passion and feel that, and our kids are in a very good hands, again, 5-8 ELA. So any questions with that I can try to answer? English Language Arts. We have a reading and writing, we call it Language Arts, and then we call it, not reading and writing class, Language Arts and Literacy, thank you. It's ELA standards by the state. Yeah, writing focused, yeah. Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, thanks for giving the time for that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Nick. And we'll have to thank Kirsten for the presentation. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda. We'll start with the Staff Appreciation Bagel Breakfast that was held on Wednesday, October 7th. Brian, do you want to fill us in on that?
Picked up a whole bunch of bagels. They weren't quite ready when I got there, so I was running a little bit late. Everybody said thank you when I was dropping them off. I said, I wonder if I got lost. By the time I got to the middle school, which was, I could tell they were joking, and Addison actually got up early and helped me with that. And does he know we're from here? Like, they're just giving us a hard time right now. So everybody was appreciative. Bagels looked good, everything looked good. Just ended up running about 10 minutes late to each location. So it was got going a little bit late from Hudson, but I think it went well all in all. We got a couple of thanking from the staff, so it was good.
Okay. Have you figured out what what the cost is on that for each of us yet, Brian?
Yeah, and I mean, it was 300 and change was the total. So however we do that, I don't know.
Well, you give us a number and we pay you.
300 per person.
You take it.
Bagels next week.
Yeah.
Minus $50 per minute late.
I don't know the way you're going. For school, right?
One year they delivered them to Hudson. They delivered them to the wrong school.
We got thank yous from them.
They thought it wasn't a big deal because they thought they knew I was going to St. Croix Central, but thought I was in town. So they were helping some people in front of me, and I'm like, I gotta go. Like this big pile of stuff is all mine. Like, please, like, don't keep helping people. So, no, I think it's a big order for them too for the day. It's bigger than what they're used to.
They've been doing it for years.
Yeah, I mean, we offered the blankets and stuff like that, and hopefully they got to everybody warm. If anybody came in right away, so hopefully they were warm when they got it.
Okay. So we're looking at about $45 a piece. Is that what I'm calculating?
Yes.
And change.
Ish. Yeah, 40s, whatever.
You take them. I don't know.
I think so. I think so. Bitcoin. I had some of that, and I wish I would have been a little more patient with that. Not a funny story.
Okay. Well, I want to thank Brian for that, and the staff truly appreciated it over the years, and it is a lot of work. So I appreciate your efforts. So
That's good.
I just want to make sure that you come out even.
Oh, yeah.
So
Those are things to do. Good help. Addison actually talked my ear off, which was good, so she didn't fall asleep. So that's good.
okay. Any other comments on the bagel breakfast? Okay, hearing none, then we'll move on to the next item, which is the WASB Fall Regional meeting that was held, I believe, last Thursday, the 8th. Would have been, what, 2 weeks ago? So, comments? I know, I believe. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, it's virtual. We would have it in person, but actually, I thought it was almost more interactive because everybody's on the same screen, and I jumped on a half an hour early because they said it'd be open and be more going back and forth. Actually, it's very good. And so the 100th anniversary of WASBA, and Howard, what's the president's name?
Bill Yanks?
Bill Yanks. You know,
Yeah. Bill Yanks Sr.
Planning this big celebration, which basically is not happening. So, but I think they've done a nice job. And they really do a nice job of staying on top of legislative development, educating legislators for cool issues. We are losing one of our big advocates is retiring from the legislature. I can't remember his name, but he's been around for almost 20 years and a super strong advocate in schools. So it's actually important that our local people understand school issues. We've had them, our local folks here, to hear from us. It was a good session. Howard, any impressions from you?
No, I thought it was a good meeting. Thing that I always look forward to most hearing is the legislative update from our lobbyists. So Dan does a good job of that, and I'm always interested in hearing what John Ashley has to say. So it's tough times. It's always interesting and good to get an upbeat message from John. So it's been a tough year. It's been a tough year for everybody. So it's nice to get an upbeat message, letting us know that our work is appreciated. So, were you there, Brian?
Yep.
What were your impressions?
It was all good until they started talking about the Packers, then they lost me. I honestly the same thing, just kind of going through the legislative portion of it and the financing for the school and kind of what was coming and potential headwinds that were in front of us. I thought that was a good summary just to kind of have an idea of what's happening. Because we don't always get the news and a good report in this portion of the state of what's happening in the state of Wisconsin. So I thought it was good, and then just kind of learning who kind of this big advocate was in the legislature that's retiring, and just kind of hoping somebody else would step up into that role. I thought it was very educational.
Yeah.
Hear it, and it was more Wisconsin news than what I generally get in a year.
Okay. That it doesn't surprise me, but losing Luther Olson out of this state Senate is going to be a big loss for education, because he was really an advocate for us down there. So it will be interesting to see who his replacement will be, and who will chair the education committee, because I had more than a few conversations with Senator Olson, and they were always productive. So
I was a little surprised about the talk about potentially impacting funding based on starting virtual. Still not letting people know that that's what's happening. I mean, we're not in that situation, but I was surprised that that's still a conversation after the fact for schools. That was a bit shocking to me. So, we're not there, but some people are going to be in trouble potentially.
Okay, is there any other comments with regards to the fall regional meeting?
The best one I've been to.
Well, there will be more to come. So, okay, moving on to the next item, discuss the 4-day school week update.
So last week, an email went home, to parents, well, staff was just kind of outlining, and then working with, short document, just what expectations are from each person's perspective, students, teachers, and parents/guardians. And I thought it important because folks were asking what that means for our virtual school. So I had that asterisk there at the bottom saying it's business as usual for that. The first email announcing that we're, the board approved it, the president's recommendation going for 4-day week, Fridays, help students in person. Said more information will follow. So here's one piece of it. The next was to send home a survey to parents asking who would be interested in meals for those Fridays. Again, we're able to deliver them, provide them for free. Currently, as of just now I checked, elementary has 87 families signed up for elementary students, 72 middle school, 42 high school. So that will, of course, continue to remain open. I assume that will certainly grow. Plan right now is to pick up those students, will pick up and take those meals home with them Thursday afternoon. Anybody that is absent or forgets it or whatever, we will deliver via vans on Friday as well. Another piece was childcare. So Kids Care sent out a survey, and I believe it's 102 response is that 102 kids would be showing up. They would want daycare, for Kids Care. Then the actual enrollment went out, and as of this morning, only 42 have signed up for kids care. We're kind of built the cost based on 50. When we get to 50, we'll break even. At a reduced cost, we reduced it from it's normally 35 a day to 25. But again, also we're going to a person, our support staff, especially paraprofessionals, and getting commitments for them, so we can, number one, do you want to work kids care? And so, okay. Other things, do the teachers need you in the room? Talking to teachers. So to a person, we're figuring out, number one, what their expectations will be on that Friday. Some have asked to have the day off, and we have granted that, or half days, So we're not telling anybody, you can't work. There are plenty to do for everyone, the support staff. So, but we just are kind of going one by one and figuring it out for school. Also at the middle school, Pete and staff, talked about having a grasp or, care as well at the middle school. If you saw a survey Thursday or Friday, what's the update with that, Pete?
33 have responded that they would either be either full-time or some of the time. That's about all we've had that have, and now we need to move forward in regards to how to enroll or how to sign them up.
Well, that's update on that, which should start a little less than 2 weeks.
Is there a consideration that on the kids' care, if you're going to have the care that's going to create more close contacts that otherwise wouldn't have occurred?
Yeah, so right now, we have only three paras. Two work with the elementary grade, and one is working in kids' care with
Yeah, I'm gonna run the body quick.
But certainly is, yeah.
The parent from third grade, now they're teaching first graders, that contact wouldn't have otherwise, that's just more.
Right, yeah, we're aware of that and just have assuming acceptable risk there.
In the presentation that you gave, including this, I know in the survey it was included, but is there an explanation as to the process that went into making this decision and the reasoning and then a reiteration of that?
Not since the first survey.
It might be worth going there again.
Okay.
And telling, reminding parents in particular that the goal is to have the best staff member possible teaching them and that they're being spread through that they will get 4 better days of instruction if there's a decompression, not student day.
Yeah, something planning, maybe the planning.
Actually seeing this quite a bit. Model. I'm assuming we're formatted this thing with more and more people. So I think it's going to become pretty mainstream. Based on, I think I read 3 articles about that this week or how that's just now. When we're videos out there with teachers trying to teach live and virtual time. So I think people are going to become more aware of it.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people communicating with the middle border. Some are, some are doing late starts, some are doing late, once a week. Others are putting in more development days, like two ones now, where they have 1 none. So everybody's trying to find something, right?
I think it's giving us a chance to say, this isn't teachers, this isn't for administration, this is for everybody.
Howard, anything else for a school week update?
I guess what has been some of the parent feedback on it?
Howard, BJ, I elicited feedback in my announcements, and my one parent contact was about virtual, others affected virtual education. I haven't received any feedback, good or bad, from any parent at least at the middle school level.
And the first one is the 30th.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Do the survey, Howard. Trying to think if I heard from one or two maybe right away questioning, the why, and answer that, and they were appreciative with the answer.
Yeah.
On the survey, of course, there were mixed messages and lots of whys, and things like that. So to Scott's point,
Yeah.
for this opportunity to communicate. So hit that again, but.
Well, talking to some of our colleagues from other districts, they're curious as to how we're going to be doing it, because a lot of them are going to a hybrid model rather than a 4-day. So,
We don't want to have to do that unless it's, health-related pandemic spreading too fast.
yeah. Well, 4 days a week is better than 2 days a week.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Scott's right, though, I mean, that's been the anecdotal feedback that I've gotten, people are just like, wow. Wow, because they didn't take the time to go through the whole PowerPoint. We need like sound bites of easy to consume information.
Okay. Any other comments with regards to the 4-day school week? Okay, then we'll move on to the next item. I don't believe we have any scheduled presentations at this time. So let's move into our financial reports.
Howard?
Yes.
I had one more thing I wanted to just give an update on.
Okay.
District needs and priorities. So just an update on the Donovan Group and our communication strategy. And so since the last board meeting, we did admin. I requested had 4 dates for community and 2 for the staff for Donovan Group and Becky, the graphic designer. Developed a postcard that's going out. I got to share it. Postcard for all box holders of 3,100 and some box holders this is going to, and it's 2-sided. This is the main thing. Went to the printers, Minimap Press Friday, so it will be in mailboxes this week. Just a little kind of overview and a few things. And then the 4 dates and times we chose Mondays. Again, board is expected to attend. It probably be best to just do it in one night or the whole 4 meeting nights. And based on Joe's time frame, the first one, I believe is 2 hours. Yeah, 2 hours. That's at 4:30 for the 6:30 meeting, and then an hour and a half after that. So it would run up and it should adjoin to the board meetings already scheduled. And again, they are going to be virtual. The community is running virtually. Again, just for the current indoor restrictions.
Okay.
And then, I know it did enter my mind about kids without masks, but if anybody asks, these are pictures from last year. If anybody knows elementary school, they know Woody is the mascot and the theme this year, Pete the Cat. So, it turned out well, and it accomplished what we need to. The real work now we'll see. Ask for them to RSVP, so that have an idea, I guess. Maybe can ask that you continue to think of co-chairs, possible co-chairs. Still looking for that. Also for the staff, then I'll just email this to the staff. Picked 2 dates for them, separate invite. And again, Girls Fridays. Staff are there. We have a captive audience. Because it's really hard to get all staff there after school because of extra food and stuff. So that's going to go out again soon, but those postcards will be in boxes this week. So I just want to provide a quick update on that. Thank you.
Okay.
Tim, on that postcard, does it pay to maybe just put a little sentence at the bottom of the picture from 2019, or just to ward off any confusion or anything? I mean, something just as simple as picture from 1920 school year.
Probably should have.
There's something.
They're already printed.
Oh, they're printed.
Friday.
How many pens do you have?
I got a phone line. Open.
Okay. Any other questions for Tim with regards to this? Okay. Well, if we have board members that think they have some names of co-chairs, possible co-chairs, let's see if we can get those names, and hopefully we can come up with a couple of good co-chairs to lead this effort. So
I hope folks don't confuse it with all the political postcards that are in their mailbox now. I know I stopped by recycling before I even get in the house.
I just left it up by the mailbox.
okay.
Asking one of the people who applied for the open position on the board, if they would be interested.
Good. And you want me to just choose those? Solicit? All right. Jeff has a motion to, Howard.
Aye.
Okay.
Do I see the railroad coming out of the tunnel?
We should give our names to Howard.
Okay. Then we'll move on to the next item. I don't believe there are any other scheduled presentations, so we'll move on to our financial reports from our treasurer.
Bank account balances as of September 30th, 2020. Citizen State Bank checking, $2,542,726.81. Citizen State money market, $1,012,214.72. Citizens money market fund closed at $53.03. Citizens Bank money market first health revenue funds, $19,157.26. For total bank account balances of $3,574,261.82.
Move to accept.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to accept the treasurer's report as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is our consent agenda, which consists of approval of our meeting minutes from September 28th, our board learning meeting minutes from October 5th, approval of the bi-monthly bills for October 2020, approval of resignations and retirement of boys assistant coach Jonah Chapp, and approval of appointments and contract modifications of Wendy Demling from 9-month school nurse to head school nurse, Thomas Fuller to the full-time girls soccer assistant coach, and approval of student participation in early college credit program for spring of 2021, and approval of curricular modifications, requests for students to enroll in full-time and part-time virtual courses, which the number of that is, Kirk?
7 part-time and 15 full-time.
Okay. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to administrative reports. We'll start with the student enrollment update.
Our students in seats this month, 1,478. That's a change of 10, down 1,488 last month. The pre-reduced rate still continues to stay in the 23% range. And again, that grace period just ended on the 15th. We'll typically see a decline in that. Changes in the virtual full-time, which are our resident students, it's 174 to 163 last month, so that's up 11 of the virtual students. Open enrollment in 369 is out 130 for another 239. And last month it was 361 from 1.6 out. So increase in both of those. And then lastly, our virtual charter school is sitting at 264 students. Again, those are all virtual students, all open enrolled in. You can see what it was a year ago, 156. So just for comparison's sake, it's not on this, but just for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So you see what it currently is right now. And these are June numbers, so it's going to be even higher. In 2016, we had 27. In 2017, we had 64. 2018, 104. And last year, I had 157. That's that. One's 156 this time of last year. So you can see the growth. I know. I remember Glenn Webb predicting it would go over 1 every year. It's pretty much right now, very close.
Okay, are there any questions with regards to the student enrollment update? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is a transportation report by our transportation director, Pete Nussbaum.
Good evening, folks. I'll try to make it brief, but first thing I really want to state is that, the title of transportation director, I do very little. We have an amazing supervisor down there, Brian. He makes my job really, really easy. He's doing a great job. So I really want to give him credit before I give this report because he does all the work and I get a lot of the credit. So moving on, some of the things I really want to talk about tonight. First one is routes. There's some questions on routes and how many we're running. Just like last year, we're running 10 regular school routes yet. And I have to tell you, we're worried about, we talked about Rolling Meadows, but it's full already. And the word is that they're going to knock out the entire woods now, and they're going to be moving west again and adding 42 more building sites. If that happens, we're going to be needing a second bus in there in addition to a route. So that time is coming. So we have 10 regular school routes now. We're running 1 special education bus route and 2 vans that are picking up on more of our younger type special ed population. Drivers, right now we have 11 full-time bus drivers, 2 full-time van drivers, and 4 regular substitute drivers, and 3 sub drivers that help in the pinch. They don't sub during the day, but they help sub for our trips at night, which has been beneficial. And then we have 3 teachers that have been filling in and subbing. Bill Emery's been driving his own cross-country bus, which helps. Brad Hoser has jumped in and drove a couple of our football buses. And then Brad last year drove a lot in the spring, as did Bill. We still have a shortage. We had a couple bus drivers that were affected by COVID, and Brian had to drive bus, which means that good old Larry jumped in and supervised the bus garage because we always want a person at the radio until all the buses are back. So we could use a little help yet in the bus subbing area, but right now we're able to maintain. Now our bus fleet, and this is the sheet that I handed out to you. If you look, we have 11 buses that are from 150,000 to 200,000 miles. We have 3 buses that are under 50,000, 3 that are in between 8,500 and 12,000, and 1 bus is sitting in the parking lot for sale. Bus number 20 that's on this list is the one now that's up for bid. And it was our activity bus, but the cost of repairs was about 5-6 times the amount of what the bus was worth, and we couldn't put any money into it. One of the major malfunctions was the steps was rusting out, and there's no way Brian could have got the pass. You know, we're lucky to have Brian because he's able to piece these together, repair them, but he does some welding and some patching. And he does a great job with the buses. And, you know, if we ever lose Brian, I'd be really, really worried about the age of this fleet. Now, if you look, in 2003 was when a lot of the additions came in. So we were forced to buy a bunch of buses. And then we, as a district, did a great job is from 2003 to 2009, we bought a bus each year. But since 2015, we've purchased 2 buses, and both buses were purchased used, with one having 28,000 miles and the other 27,000. So we have not bought a new bus in 5 years. And in all honesty, I'm getting somewhat concerned, and I think you all are bright enough to look at this and say, we might want to look at this fleet with the amount of miles we have in the majority of the buses. How has COVID impacted our transportation? We have buses running approximately 50 to 60%. There's only one bus that's over 80% capacity, right at about 80%, and that's our Rolling Meadows bus. And that has a lot of the young kids, and it's double routed. So, but otherwise, a lot of the buses, you'll see, I shared a seating chart earlier this week, and it showed that there's 1 and maybe 2 riders per seat, and a lot of the times they're family members. So we have been impacted by the positive tests with drivers. Again, I mentioned we were fortunate enough to have enough subs to make it work, and Larry has jumped in. Each bus, I've developed a seating chart, and we had a regular seating chart for it to start out with. And then what we realized was that when we actually had to do some contact tracing, we sent some kids home, and then they came back right away the next morning because they didn't ride the bus that day. So we didn't have the bus drivers taking attendance. So now I've developed a seating chart that's on this presentation. I won't take your time by showing it to you, but if you wanted to look at it sometime, I'll ask Tim maybe to share this with you. But they give me their names, I type them in, and then as they come in, the bus drivers are able to check Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on AM and PM. So we're able to track who's riding the bus. So we don't falsely send any kids home again. So to wrap up again, I really want to praise Brian. He does an amazing job. His routes are impeccable. I mean, they're just to the minute. And, you know, one of the things with Brian is that sometimes he can be a little difficult to have a conversation with in regards to maybe changing something up. But he and I worked together for about 2 weeks and worked with some families down in Ewing Circle. And we were able to add a route or add a stop without changing any of the bus time. And it made a lot of people happy. So Brian is doing a good job working with me and working with the families and trying to improve what we do. We have an amazing group of drivers. For the last 2 years, the drivers have been coming to a lot of our PD. They've done a lot of the trauma-sensitive work that our teachers have been doing. And we constantly talk about every meeting. Remember, you're the first face they see and the last face they see. And please take that to the heart and do the best you can to making this a positive experience. And we have some drivers that are doing an amazing job with relationships and mentoring and talking to kids. So they're taking it to heart. Again, things that we truly, really need to keep an eye on are age and mileage of our fleet, and finding, you know, if we can find subs and regular route drivers. I've been approached by a couple of drivers who are thinking about retiring again, and we lost a good driver last year. So those two things Brian and I are going to work together as concerns for us. So with that, I'd take any questions.
Any questions for Pete?
So it is, mileage probably doesn't tell the whole story, right? I mean, it gives you an idea of the wear and tear and all the mechanicals. You know, there are other items that the driver could be in order potentially. That would be kind of a conversation to go through the evaluation.
It would be, yes, and again, that's a great question. That's a question I asked Brian. And Brian said a lot of the issues we're having with the bus, when I say patching, is before we finally got the bus barn. These buses were outside, so we have a lot of exterior rusting that we wouldn't have had if they would have been inside. So if I was to ask him our biggest concern of these buses, and that's his biggest concern, is the exterior and the under rust that these buses, got when they were outside before we got the bus barn. Once a year, once in the spring, on Department of Transportation.
And is it rigorous? Is it, they check 5 or 6 things?
Oh, no, it's rigorous. Yeah.
Everything. So, yeah, it's not like, Brian can just hide stuff.
No, not at all. I hope
Temperate, so
that's not what people thought I was implying.
no, they're not, but I want to make that look safe from watching.
Right.
That, these buses are
I really,
safe in any means.
right, I really want to stress that Brian does all that work to make sure these buses are not just past the DOT inspection, but they're truly the safest buses for our kids to ride.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of miles.
Yep.
Vehicle.
Yep.
So, how much is a new bus about, 71?
I know Jen had the numbers. We were, the quotes that we got, most of them were 1-year-old buses, very similar to the 25 and the 23,000 miles. And they were anywhere from 97,000 to about 77. Or depending on the 71. Brand new, they were more, about 20,000 more than that.
Yeah, it's about 120,
Right.
Like 115, 120.
Brand new, right?
That's, why we want to get as much as
Right.
investment. And then you can sell them for about 2,000.
If we're lucky. I think I just got our first bid, and it's pretty low.
So that's what I'm trying to use.
If you were putting together a realistic schedule, would you say that if we got back on one bus a year cycle, we'd be sitting okay, or is that a little under aggressive?
Well, in all honesty, if we could find it, I don't know if it's leasing, but getting 2 right now and then going 1 after that, I think would be the best plan, in all honesty.
Call that LED.
Buying or leasing?
In the past, we were buying, so most of them, we did lease a special ed bus, about 5 years ago. And that was a lease, but before that, we were purchasing them outright.
When you lease, is it like probably a number of miles, or is it?
No,
Basically paying for
it's,
it over time. Right?
yeah, it just breaks the cost into 5 years. They charge you 2.5% interest, whatever the rate is, and
When we were trying to be on a schedule of 1 a year, it was pretty much a wash, lease or buy, because we would either have five lease payments
right.
or 1 purchase payment. So, and then leasing became more appealing when we got off that schedule and we just needed one, right?
Right, because if we need 2 or 3 buses at a time, then to be able to come up with, $300,000 in our budget is difficult.
But I think the reason I was asking, it needs to be on our needs, that it needs to be on the list. We're not gonna be able to sustain it. We are in what, unfortunately, what's gonna happen is, we're gonna need 11 buses all at once sometimes, so we
We need to get on the plan.
need to get that on a rotation and including that in either the annual excess levy or can't do it like capital, but we need to make sure that that's all.
Okay, are there any other questions for Pete?
Where is Rolling Meadows?
Roberts,
Gas station.
right on Highway 12.
12.
Oh, it's 60.
Yeah.
So you go past that 65 over to 12.
The blue bug.
I don't think she could, you would know.
Jeff, you're dating yourself.
I lived in the Anderson farm, and it was Anderson for 35 years, but we still live in Anderson.
Okay, are there any other questions for Pete?
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Okay, we'll move on to our next item, which is our student, staff, and community recognition. You have that, Brian?
Chris Knott, thank you for the support and assistance with the backpack program. We are truly grateful for your generous food donations and hard work, which allows our district to continue this valuable program. On behalf of our community families, thank you. And then the Hudson Backpack Program, thank you for support and assistance with the backpack program. We are truly grateful for your generous food donations and hard work, which allows our district to continue this valuable program. On behalf of our community families, thank you.
Okay, that's it? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you to those persons, and thanks to those who submitted the recognition. And thanks for reading those off, Brian. So, to continue this, please submit those names to our spreadsheet to continue this program. So, with that, then let's move on to the next item, which is the first reading of policy 411.2, which is education of homeless children and youth. Any questions or comments with regards to this policy?
Basically mandated, I presume. Yep.
I see we have the definitions of what constitutes homelessness and how we are to deal with that. So hopefully that's early enough in the policy to get that defined. So any other questions or comments with regards to this policy?
Doesn't look like it hard.
Okay. Hearing none, then this will stand as the first reading. We'll bring it back at the next meeting as the final second reading and approval. Okay. The next item is the first reading of policy. First policy reading of 412.1. Defines a full-time student. Question or comments there?
The only comment I had was the use of he, she pronouns in the first sentence. That would just be the student.
Again, this is tied to the WIA policy that was approved, so.
And with that.
It's been revised though, and the numbering, will compose the old number was 400.115%. So, yeah.
But it is just generally, it's hard for me to read these without having any context of why. Like, in what way is this gonna ever become relevant, and then that gives me the framework in which to analyze whether it is applicable. That's my.
Yeah, so it all comes into play with truancy or compulsory attendance, and we need to be full-time students to participate in athletics or scholarships and post-secondary things. So it is a fairly important one. That's why it's listed.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments with regards to this policy? Okay, Deanne, did you get your questions or concerns addressed?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, for me, just going forward, it would be helpful for me to have that context somewhere in the agenda, so I knew when I was reading it before right now, what I was trying to figure out. I mean, that's just for the future.
Okay. Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Then this will stand as first reading of this policy. Moving on to the next item, which is consideration of the first reading of Board Policy 411, equal educational opportunities.
Howard, before we talk about the transgender piece you and I talked about, I just thought maybe Pam, to Dan's point, maybe it'd be helpful to share that whole WASB outline of all the policies, 100 the board, 400 is student.
Right, and I'm missing the big picture.
I think that would help.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have, if it's directly replacing something, but we could reference what it's, if it's replacing something or what it's new, or if it's new and why it's new. So if it's directly replacing something just as a new structure of the book, that's a different question than if it's new or.
Right, so that could be an order, right?
Yeah.
Just a little, right after here, just put dash.
New as required, new as clarification.
Yeah, because like the first one, you read it, you understood because it had an act. You're like, okay, well, this must be required as a result of the act. Okay, let's understand that all. Okay.
Sometimes
The point is made.
the cross reference also sees, what's tied to the
And typically, if it's replacing one, it'll have dates on the bottom where it was first approved and then when it was revised and,
So this one wasn't?
we don't always match up with what we have.
So on the equal education, are we on that now?
Yes.
I don't think that we should name the complaint investigator directly in this, or we have to revise this every time we have a new. We should direct them to the complaint investigator, but I don't know that we should specifically name that person, because if they retire tomorrow, this is out of date.
Yeah, because we just passed it that along and had to move it. But if this one, we could just refer to that way, we don't have to. Okay.
Can we name the position and not the individual in the evidence, or not?
No, you have to name the individual.
And if that's the case, and even on this one, if we left it like this, if that person is no longer in the district or no longer the person that's the complaint investigator, we should have a file of any time that this position leaves, this policy, this policy, this policy, this policy need to be updated. So it's, because you'll miss one otherwise. You look at our old policy book, and it names people who have been out of the district for, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Well, Howard and I talked about in the first page, a couple paragraphs, just talking about transgender. We already have a transgender policy. We thought about just, cutting out two of those paragraphs and just make a referral to board policy.
Okay. Yeah, I looked at that, and a lot of that seemed to be repetition of a policy that we already had adopted and discussed. And so it was kind of redundant to also start restating everything in another policy. But I think we just refer to the policy that we've already adopted.
This one doesn't have any replication, even though it still already references the other policy in here. It references that policy 411.2 in there, but it's repetition of the whole thing.
So yeah, I'm saying from there, it's actually 5 paragraphs. When we just reference policy 411.2, which we do have, believe, right? We've developed that.
Yeah, I'm just asking if it's in there because it references other things in there, right? Already referencing the paragraph, right?
Yep. So we won't strike the whole paragraph, we'll make reference to that regarding, the language. But essentially, we'll take place of the 5 paragraphs. That's specifically talking about training.
Can I just get some clarification on why that's even in here? Because we're not calling out, we're not gonna exclude Catholics or Lutherans or whites or any other race. We're not narrowing any other one thing down. Why are we narrowing that down in this?
Because of bathrooms and locker rooms, basically, right?
But do we have none of that covered in
Because of
the
The
other policy?
very first sentence of the paragraph, kind of, yeah, you'd have to cover all of those, every protected class.
Well, and I guess that's why I'm wondering is why are we even bringing just one of those protected statuses up?
That was the template we were working off of, quite honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't see a reason to bring any of them up in particular. If we have it covered elsewhere, and if we don't have it covered elsewhere, and we should, then maybe that's a different policy.
Yeah, we probably don't even need to reference the policy 411.2. It's already addressed in another policy.
So are we just going to get rid of everything everything that's below point E?
Yep, starting with generally, I think we would keep,
All the way down to the district administrator shall attempt to annually, everything in between those.
yeah. And then specifically delete district Title IX coordinator.
Yeah.
And maybe a contact of how to kind of go do that. District Title IX coordinator, contact district office. Or
Yeah, because we can't guarantee the next.
for current occupant of that position, or whatever it is.
Okay. Do we have any other additions or subtractions from this policy?
The only other thing that I would do is in E, restate the non-discrimination section. And the first one, then say, and any other status protected by state or federal law. They said we're restating that in E, we should probably remove that, and any other status protected.
Just leave it as, show the assessment of student progress, because users are not different, or student progress. Yeah. All students, okay, yeah.
Okay, the question is, with the changes made, do we need to bring this back as a first reading at the next meeting, or do we consider it as a second reading? What is the request of the board?
Oh, we can have it be second reading next time.
Okay. Then it'll stand as the first reading with the deletions, corrections, additions noted. Okay. Then we'll move on to the next item, which is consideration of approval of the snow removal bids for the 2021, 2020, 22, 23 school year. Should be a 3-year bid.
So we sent out a request for proposal and received 2 bids back. Our current rates you can see listed there. And M&H Construction is the vendor that had the contract through last winter. You can see that they submitted the exact same rates for the upcoming 3-year period. We also received a bid from the West Concrete and Construction out of Spring Valley. You can see that their rates varied just slightly, nothing material except when you get to the snow removal and relocation. Our current vendor doesn't charge us for that. So, and the new vendor would charge us $70 an hour. Everything else was pretty much the same, so we're recommending to continue with M&H Construction.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Approve the snow plowing bid for MH Construction. Any further discussion?
Here's M&H Construction. Hammond or Roberts, I guess Greg's not here to answer that, but they are local. Okay,
That was my one.
Okay, any other questions? You see, Greg is online, but he's muted, so.
Oh,
I am here, yes. M&H has done a great job. They've had the contract for, I don't know, the past 6 years, I think, and have done a really good job. I call them if there's ice on the driveway, exits, entrances, and they are right there to take care of it. Yeah, they're very good to work with, hands down.
Where are they from?
Yeah. We live outside of Hammond.
Okay.
They clean out the sand and the curbs in the spring as well.
Yeah. Yes, they take care of the sand, take care of the sand that they put down over the winter. They've cleaned all that up. Good to go in the spring. Yep.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? Otherwise, those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next is consideration of the budget, tax levy, and mill rate for the 2020-2021 school year, or fiscal year. So.
you should each have a handout packet that was at your desk, and Howard, I scanned a copy of that to you.
Okay.
You find that in your email.
Okay. I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, so you should have that. Just very few changes this year because of course we just had the annual meeting 2 weeks ago. So I'll hit the highlights. And enrollment, our 3-year rolling average increased from 1590 last year to 1609, which was an increase of 19 FTE. We had estimated that we would remain stable basically for the annual meeting. And then I know when I presented to the board on September 28th, we had kind of talked about how we thought our resident count would probably be higher, but maybe our open enrolled in was going to be a little bit lower, and that's exactly what happened. So our revenue limit, you can see there, includes about 600,000 for our energy efficiency exemption. And then we also had a small amount that's for prior year uncounted students that are open enrolled in. So that usually happens when a student moves in after the September count date, but we end up paying an open enrollment tuition to our school district. So next year they refund that money back to us. At the annual meeting, we had estimated a 7% increase.
Howard's, I know every 15 minutes. It's like Christmas.
At the annual meeting, we had estimated a 7% increase in our property values. Those actually came in at 12.7%. So they were up quite a bit. Our state aid came in, however, very close to our July 1st estimate. It was within a couple $1,000s. So if you flip over to the second page, you can see the changes that we needed to make in the budget for the levy amount. Our open enrollment as I touched on a little while ago, was less than what we had anticipated. So we made adjustments there. Made that small adjustment to the state aid. So that changed our total Fund 10 receipts by about $35,000 to the good. For our expenditures in Fund 10, we had an additional 20,000 added for open enrollment out. That came in a little bit higher than we thought. And then we added the remaining amount to function 110,000 to cover that second elementary virtual education teacher that we added that wasn't included in the original budget. We were also able to add for mill rate stability an additional 380,000 to our Fund 39 to prepay the 1.1 million that we had anticipated originally, plus another 380,000. That leaves our mill rate at about $10.20 per thousand. In comparison, last year we were at $10.37. And the year before we were right around $10. Any questions on that? We have all the supporting documents if you want to get into it a little bit further, or you can look at that on your own later.
Any questions for Jen with regards to the paperwork?
Very, very few changes, so.
Looking for a motion then, Howard?
Yes, I am.
Make a motion to approve a tax levy of $8,409,398 for the 2021 school year, with a mill rate of 0.01020072 to support the Fund 10 budgeted expenditures of $21,024,018, Fund 30 budgeted expenditures of $4,458,801, and Fund 80 expenditures of $430,000.
Okay, I have a motion. Kirk, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a second, Redmond. Any further discussion?
Wait a minute.
All the same.
Okay. Okay, I missed that one, but that's not unusual. So, but motion is second. Is there any further discussion?
I'll swing and miss, I'm stolen base.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're on to other business. Do we have any other business to cover at this time? Okay, hearing none, move on to the important upcoming dates. We have November 2nd, 2020 is our SCC board learning and special meeting at 6:30. Says this meeting will be held remotely. We will be at the district office, but the remotely, as I understand, is still our Google Hangouts. Am I correct in that, Pam?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Remember November 3rd. November 3rd will be our general election. So please get out and vote. And November 16th, 2020 will be our regularly held school board meeting at 7 p.m. at the district office in Hammond. And then again, we have January 20 through 22 of 2021 or 2021 will be the WASB Virtual State Education Convention. The opening keynote speaker will be Donald Driver. So those that are Packer fans or Donald Driver fans will be happy. Others may not be. So, but he's a good speaker. So
Others need to improve their taste in football teams.
That's a good answer.
well, they need to spend a little money on a quarterback that can perform. So, okay, is there any other important upcoming dates?
Yeah, the
quarterback report.
November 2nd and 16th, we have an early start with Donovan Group.
Okay. Yeah. That'll be then noted.
4:30 on the 2nd, 5:30 on the 14th, or 16th, rather.
Okay. Is there any other additions we need to important dates?
Put all four on there, maybe. You know what, Tim?
Yep.
Okay, with that, David, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All right.
Okay. Thank you all. Thanks for indulging me tonight. So